Welcome in to another episode of the My Two Bits Gators football podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Ben, joined as always by your other host, Mr. Randy. Randy, it's been a couple of days. You've had some time to process. How are the feelings?
Good evening. Agnostic. I'll just leave that there.
All right, all right. That sounds fair. That sounds fair. Um, welcome to yet another episode of Gators Anonymous. Gators, that's what we do now because
Right,
apparently
right.
we don't get to talk about anything fun. We just have to go in and talk about all this not fun ugliness that we see. So, with that, let the therapy begin, and we will get into our review and analysis here, of course, of the call it a game, the thing that happened on Saturday night against Miami. Um,
Oh,
as
heck of a
always,
game. Heck of a game,
what
according to Billy.
yeah, heck of a game. Yeah, so for somebody, not for us.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. So with that, let's get things kicked off here. Start as always with our intro, our mission, our accuracy disclaimer, our vision, and our agenda. Our mission is to provide factual analysis of all things Florida Gator football. Our accuracy disclaimer is that our information will be accurate to the best of our possible ability. We will cite our sources whenever we use them, and all statistical data comes from either ESPN or stats.ncaa.org, and recruiting data comes from on3.com. Our vision is to have unfiltered conversation around the product on the field, as well as recruiting and overall coaching decisions. Our analysis will be based on review of film, and while we will express opinion, that opinion should always be based in some form of fact. We will also evaluate strategy and tactics and discuss our observation of player personnel decisions, as well as on the field execution, again, or lack thereof. So our agenda, as always, for our in-season pods starts off with our "Oh My" section, starting with our review of our exciting plays from the game that we picked out. We'll then review the offense, what there was of it in the Chomp segment. We will then review the defense, the bright spot currently again in the Gator Bait section. Then go through our visor throws and our complaints about what we saw on the game. Not sure we have enough time for all those, but we're going to go through them. We will then take a look at recruiting in our hatchling segment, culture in the Pride of the Sunshine segment, officiating in the Move Back You Suck segment, and wrap things up with a review of where we're at and where we go from here. Lord knows. And then we will take a look at how things went for Keep It or Pitch It. From last week, we do not have another Keep It or Pitch It this week because obviously we're going into a bye, and no Sims notes either. But I will make a quick note on something from the Sims that was kind of interesting in terms of the outcome. So, and then we'll talk about, to close things out, what we're going to do for our bye week pods. We are going to have bye week pods. Actually, we're going to do a reaction type pod, a shorter pod on Saturday, and then again on Monday as well. So we'll get into that as well. So with that, get us started. Talk to me about what exciting plays we did have on Saturday. There were actually a few more, I think, than what I saw the week before, at least for me. So what did you have for your homies?
I got you, B. I got you. So I had four total, maybe five, but four. And again, I'm not cheating. I'm gonna keep it to three. The first one I'll have to say is Dijon Johnson with a great pass breakup on Miami's second possession. The angle was great. The mode he took was great. The positioning was great. The hands were great. Funny thing is, too, on that pass, on that play, there was a hold on the other side, not called. We'll get to that later, but love what Dijon's brought the past couple of weeks. The way that he's playing the position, I thought his energy level has been exceptionally great. So there's that. Jaden Ball, can't say enough about the kid. Wish he had some more carries. Wish he had some more help, but gritty touchdown run for our first score in the third quarter. Yes, our first score in the third quarter. And that score involved breaking four separate tackles, a spin move, a stiff arm, and all the way to the end zone to make it 13-7 and give the Gators some life. But the thing about Baugh that continues to impress me is the legs. The legs just keep moving. And as we know, seeing a lot of successful running backs over the years, if you can keep moving the legs, if you can keep the body going, you have a greater probability of breaking tackles and getting more yardage, and he can clearly do so, especially with his strength. The last that I have in the home my segment, this kid, he showed up 2 weeks in a row, making a name for himself. He was labeled a troublemaker. He was labeled selfish. He was labeled a problem. And guess what? He's becoming a problem on the field for opposing offenses. Cormani McLean, boulders for shoulders, amazing interception, great positioning, great jump to jump that route to see where the
Yep.
quarterback was going to go. And
Yep.
so, Cormani, hats off to you, bud. You're doing a phenomenal job. Stay on the track that you are on. It's going to take you to some great places. B, those are my home my's. What you got, man?
Yeah, well said. And I share two of the three, as unsurprising as that is.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
but yeah, no, good points, nice picks. I like them. My one that's going to differ is my first one here. So I'm going to have the sack by Jaden Woods to start the second quarter. Held Miami
Yeah.
to a field goal, so it had some real significance, as well as just being a heck of a play from him. Partially a coverage sack. A lot of credit to the defense in the secondary there. Beck had the ball for quite a while before he was able to get in and get that sack. So really nice coverage sack there. And already just seeing some outstanding things being put on film by Woods. As I will mention briefly now, he had a chance at a couple more sacks in this game that he was well, we'll say maybe not so fairly taken away from him, and we'll get to that later. But really excited to see what he continues to be able to do moving forward this season and hopefully beyond. He's an exciting prospect. He has got a ton of talent. The hype in camp on him was real. I'll tell you that. Camp hype on him was high, and boy, it looks to be correct. He looks absolutely phenomenal.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right. Number two, as mentioned, same as yours, the Wrecking Ball TD. I'm gonna keep trying to keep that going for you. I really like that. After Miami completely stuffs the intended gap on this. So you mentioned how he broke all these tackles. He was dead at the line of scrimmage. They clogged this hole completely, and to your point, had hands on him at or maybe even half yard behind the line because this play was blown up by Miami. They absolutely stuffed the interior where this was intended to go. So what does Baugh do? He makes a ridiculous spin move to get out of a tackle, gets out of the line of scrimmage, goes outside, to your point, gets a ridiculous stiff arm that just shuts the defender down that was trying to tackle him next, and then breaks one more tackle as he's going into the end zone. Breaking there is maybe a figure of speech. Even if the guy had tackled him, it still would have been a touchdown. But nonetheless, he did break it. Guy did not tackle him.
Yep.
And got in for the 6. It is just phenomenal to watch him play. He's an amazing runner, to your point. Keeps the legs moving. As we talked about so much, the strength, the shiftiness, the speed. I mean, I truly hope no matter what happens, we get to see more of him run. Like, just let me continue to see him run the ball. Because, man, that's a fun thing to watch. We're not getting a ton of fun things to watch, especially on that side of the football. When ball gets in his hands and he gets even a glimmer of daylight, it is fun to watch. So that was really enjoyable. Number 3 for me as well, Cormani INT. Phenomenal to see this kid's talents on display. Great play recognition, as you mentioned, right? Watching the quarterback's eyes, leaving his designated man. He jumped off the guy he was really covering, or his kind of spot in the zone. I believe it was zone coverage from what I was looking at on the field, and showing incredible closing speed to make that pick. From watching that replay from the quarterback vantage point, I don't think Carson thought he could get there. Like, he may have even seen him. I don't know. But I think he thought, oh, I can get this ball in before anybody can get to it, no matter who's around, right? And I don't even blame him. Like, Cormani was several yards off when Beck comes up to start, making into his break because he was running out of the pocket, because we actually collapsed the pocket on Beck. Novel concept. But he's running out of there to make that throw, and Cormani just closes incredibly. Outstanding effort. Love seeing it. Again, outstanding effort again, like last week, just really great stuff. And, like you said, bright future ahead for him if he continues to keep this kind of work ethic and play up. So with that, we'll close out OMIs. We'll move on to the Chomp segment. Little interesting tidbit here. I was actually a little surprised when I saw this, because when I saw Lagway, I did not think that his passer rating was going to be better than it was last week. But it was. So last week he was just under 50. This week he was actually 58.06, which I guess because of the no turnovers, it was better. But he had 61 yards. Pretty rough there. yards per attempt here was just scary low. So again, we use the NFL rating here, not the college rating, so that's why it's a 58.06. There's another shocking stat coming up to do with that 58.06 later, but we'll get there in a little bit. We also had 4.04 yards per carry in this game when you take out the sack yardage, which is also interesting. 4+ yards per carry. You looked how we were running that ball to start this game. That's a pretty shocking stat. Those big runs in the second half help buoy that number up, but still over 4 yards a carry in this game. It's not bad. It's really not bad. Continues to be a decent number running for this team. So now that I've said everything positive I can think of, we're going to move on to what really happened, which was a bunch of garbage. Offense was obviously once again the problem for this team. However, for this game, it was actually worse than last week for a couple of reasons. And despite what I said about Lagway being worse, which I also believe he was, there was a lot of things that were worse here. First, the complete lack of protection for a struggling quarterback. Miami blitzed some, but not as much as LSU did last week. They just didn't. And yet, DJ was under pressure all night. The O-line, we talked about this a little on Saturday, especially the right side, bears the blame here. PFF stats, real quick for you. For pass blocking, for our two of our players on the right side of the line, one Damian George and Bryce Lovett. Granted, Bryce Lovett did not start, but he still played 20 some odd snaps in this game. They graded out at a 0 on PFF for pass blocking. A 0. That scale goes from 0 to 99 point something. They got a 0. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul. So that is where we are at with those two in this game. They literally could not have been worse in PFF's eyes. Now, PFF may not always get it right. We may disagree with them sometimes in how they rate things. But when you're a 0, when you literally can't register 0.1 on the scale, that's pretty terrible in every sense of the word. So that was horrible. Next up, lack of adjustments for this issue. Where were the quick passes to offset our line's deficiencies? This is something we actually have in the playbook. This is something this offense does. We have tunnel screens. We have bubble screens. We have quick slants. Did we throw any of them? Not much, if any at all. Don't really remember seeing very much of that on tape. Do you? Because I sure don't. Now, granted, Langley was throwing the ball terribly, but still didn't see those even attempted. Still didn't see those designs even out there very often. What are we doing? One of the things I could actually give Napier some credit for last week was the fact that he built screens in against a blitz-heavy team. That's smart. Where was the stuff to counteract this week's game issues? Where was it? Not on display anywhere I saw. Last but not least, because I'm going to keep this short because I don't need to complain all night about it. Play calling, as I already alluded to here, continues to be a floundering mess. Find things that work, see them once or twice on the field, and then poof, they're gone. Toss play to Jackson would be the example here, right? Come out of the second half, try something different. Amazing. Worked great. Then it does come back later in the game. We did see it one more time to Baugh, and it worked pretty well there too. So it makes sense that we saw it twice. Right? That's logical. Oh, wait, no, it's not. And I'm not saying it has to be the same play, but what was working there was bouncing the ball outside against a team that was trying to clog up the middle on you. Use your speed, get to the exterior, use your more, athletic talent that you have on the line or with your tight ends blocking or in 12 personnel or whatever to make that work for you and leverage getting outside against a defense that was clogging up the middle. But no, we don't see it. Where'd it go? Back in the playbook for safekeeping? What are you doing? So I have some metrics that I want to throw out here to kind of demonstrate how this was a problem all night. So these are some advanced stats that I thought were really relevant that I want to share a couple of. I'm not going to share them all. EPA per play. So that's, I don't remember what the E stands for, but basically the per play average, it's points per play basically, average on this, and it's a negative 0.21 that we were in this game. So if you're a defense and you're allowing that, you're doing a great job. But you're an offense and you're getting that, you're in the 14th percentile. That's where you rank for this.
Yikes.
Right. Success rate on offense, 34%, 17th percentile. Yards per play overall, 3.2, first percentile, as in the bottom, not the 99th, top percent. No, 1% on the bottom end of the scale. I mean, I could keep going, but I'll leave it right there because that pretty much tells you all you need to know.
That sums it up.
Absolutely pathetic. And yet, this is a guy who keeps talking about how they're still working on it. They're still developing. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're not improving. You're not getting better. If anything, you're getting worse. That concludes my offensive wrap up. What do you got?
Really proud of you, man. First of all, good numbers. Secondly, you kept it short, sweet, and to the point. I like it. Good job keeping your poise. Okay.
Thank you.
I will not. No, no. You know what? It's funny. I thought the Q-bar was going to be better only because there weren't 5 INTs to go with it. Yeah, true. There was not a ton of yardage, barely any yardage, but obviously the INTs had a lot to do with it. So, anyways, what do I have to say about the Chomp, huh? 33 points scored in 3 weeks. 33 points in 3 weeks. 11 points per game in a 3-week span. Let that sink in, folks. 32 total yards on 22 plays, 1 first down in the first half. Our third fewest yards and a half in the last 22 seasons.
Nice find.
Thank you, ESPN. 5 of 6 first half drives, 3 and out. 3 and out. 0-7 on third down. Lovely. Okay. On Baugh's touchdown run, that drive, that masterful drive, it looked like, a drive that we used to put together back in the days. 11 plays, 80 yards, almost 7 minutes off the clock.
Yep.
When we got the interception, you're thinking, oh, great, do it again. Run it back. Yeah. Fourth quarter yard.
That's not a thing.
Yeah, no. Oh yeah. Napier did say that, right? The inability to stack plays. Got it. Fourth quarter, 8 yards. 8 yards in the fourth quarter. Finished the game 0 for 13 on third down. Time of possession, 23 minutes. Almost a 16-minute discrepancy to Miami. Folks, when you look at the way the scoring broke down, yes, in the first quarter, Miami had 7, we had 0. Second quarter, Miami had 6, we had 0. 13-0 at the half is not end of the world. You come out in the third quarter and you score some points, okay, 13-7. You're like, okay, we got a bit of life. But when you keep the defense out on the field that long, especially the rate at which they scored at the end of the game, you can't tell me that defense wasn't tired.
No,
you can't.
100%.
You can't tell me that. Exactly. 4 sacks. 4 sacks for 21 yards.
Yep.
This O-line was supposed to be great. Not good. Great. It was supposed to be a strength for sure. As we mentioned on the preseason pod, I remember us going having that discussion.
Yeah, I said I thought it'd be the strength of the whole offense. It's
right,
quite possibly the worst part of it. I could not have been more wrong.
But B, let me ask you, how many O-line coaches do we have?
2.
2.
Possibly 0, but 2.
So Rob Sale and Jonathan DeCoster. I'm going to take a phrase out of the book of my good friend Ben. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing? Okay. The Gators entered the week, okay, before the Miami game, 3rd best pass blocking grade in the country. Again, according to PFF. We know sometimes they get it wrong, but 3rd best in the nation. Against Miami, B already mentioned Lovett and George. That was what it was. But the overall pass blocking grade, a paltry 2.3.
Wow, that's awful.
I rest my case, Your Honor. The Hurricanes had a 79.3% pressure rate, nearly double the average of what we've seen
Whoa, that's
this year.
crazy. 80%? That's insane.
They basically said we are going to bully you and dominate you, and you're not going to stop us. And guess what? They were right,
Yeah, that's
because
wild.
we had no answer. There was nothing quick about what we did on offense except for that drive in the third quarter. There was nothing smart. There was nothing to counteract or counterbalance. There was nothing to adapt or improvise. It was terrible. Terrible. I will say this: 3 penalties for 20 yards. All 3 came on third down, 2 of them on the offense. The third,
Yeah.
Dijon for defensive holding. So, hey, from a procedural standpoint, that got better. Outside of that,
Hold on, hold
every
on. From a procedural penalty standpoint, a guy, you can't tell me procedurally we were better. We'll talk about that later. But
dang it, folks, he won't let me get away with it. Okay, fine. Yes,
no, I will not.
penalty standpoint, fine. It's just really tough to watch, right? 12 of 23 for
really tough
DJ,
to watch.
61 yards. Okay, Jaden Baugh, 12 rushes, 51 yards, right? Lost 5, yeah, net 46. Ball was also, again, our leading rusher and almost our leading receiver. Good night. Vernell Brown actually ended up catching something for 22 yards, but outside of that, it was Ball and nobody else. Nobody else, right? Livingston with 8. Trey with 7, Sturdivant with 5. I hope he's okay. Probably a mild concussion. Jacoby with 4, Hanson with 4. Hanson also had two misses, which again, they weren't even close to his catch radius, so don't even bother.
Right.
Folks, at the end of the day, the chomp segment is not chomping. There are no teeth. It's just gums, and we got no chomp. I'm sorry, folks.
Except Gums didn't play.
Oh, got him. Nice dad joke. I'll take it. I'll take 10 plus 10 points for you, sir.
We got to have fun somewhere, man. Jeez,
Yeah.
because this is not a lot of fun to watch. That's for sure.
Right.
Honestly, this is harking me back to Muschamp days when the defense would stop the other team and then the offense would get on the field and I'd be like, nope, we're more than 30 yards from the end zone, can't score. And so it was like, defense, you're up again automatically. Like, it was just, that's the way it was. That's what you were watching when you watched games. And it was like, well, the defense is really good though, so they'll probably stop them again. Oh, nope, offense isn't 30 yards. Nope, we're not going to score. Like, that's what it became at the end of that era, when it was nothing but defensive guys on that team, obviously. And because that's all he was recruiting. And that was understandable. But that's not the case here, right? We have talent on both sides of the ball. So that's why this is just pull your hair out of your head. Frustrating. It's just so hard. And by the way, I did want to make a correction of myself, or a clarification of myself there. The EPA per play is the expected points added. So apologies for the brain fart there. I don't know why I could not remember that in the moment, but that is what the stat was that I was referencing earlier. So apologies for messing that up. All right, enough about the ridiculousness of offense. Let's move on to the defense. Gatorbait, talk to me.
Man, another game in which this defense, they did the best they could, basically, right?
Absolutely.
As far as Beck goes, I don't have the QBR for Beck.
Apologies. I've got it. Let me fill you in. I didn't send it to you. It's my fault.
You're good. No, all
so good. QB rating for Beck was a 57.64, actually lower than Lagway's. So like I mentioned, it's shocking, honestly, because he obviously threw for way more yards, but had that interception and no touchdowns. So it actually was a point lower than Lagway's was. I was really floored by that. But we gave up 5.44 yards per carries after you remove the sacks. So when you remove their sack yardage as well, 5.44 yards per carry allowed, which obviously is not great. And we saw, the rushing game was a little bit of a problem, but we'll talk about why. Go ahead. Sorry for that.
Exactly. No, it's all good. We allowed 198 yards in the first half, held them to 344. Yes, I said held to 344.
Absolutely.
When we did first bites on Saturday night, I had mentioned, Miami was averaging 450 yards a game. I didn't think that NCAAstat.com was going to be updated so soon. That was after our game. Before the game, coming into the game, Miami was averaging 553.7 yards per game. So to hold them
I got 486 when I looked it up.
Okay, and that's
So
what I
I
was
don't know
wondering.
where the discrepancy is going to lie there. Maybe it was timing again or something. But when I looked it up after last week in through, I got 486. So I'm not sure where it lies, if it's somewhere in the middle there or not. But I had 486 is what I came up with.
Interesting. Well, either way, to hold them to 344, even if you take the 486 number, that's still
Yeah,
140 under, regardless of the fact,
absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
So there's that. The other thing is when you look at the time of possession discrepancy, 36 minutes on the field. Guys were subbing in and out, had to be interchange, unreal. Guys were gassed. You can't blame them. They held as best they could. Miami, 43 rushing plays for 183 yards, 30 pass plays for 160 yards. Fairly complimentary football. That's something that our coach likes to say that we like to get to, but never do. But whatever.
Correct.
Again, kudos to Miami for that. If you notice, this defense held Miami to 13 points until about 6 minutes, 5 minutes to go in the game. If you look at that for what it is,
Yep.
and look at those last two scores that Miami had, okay, and look at how they came.
Yep.
This was a defense that essentially held them. Not now true, Beck didn't have his best game. Miami didn't have its best game. But let's be honest, when you saw the way that Miami's defensive line came out our O-line, and then you saw the way that Miami's O-line was trying to push and bully and spit and, well, maybe not spit, but kick and slap, whatever else they did, it was clear they were on a mission to destroy. And the fact that our D-line held with, especially with the amount of injuries that we had, they did a pretty good job. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
Agreed.
Two guys that I want to call out that really haven't played much all season, haven't gotten much recognition. McLeod and Mbachu,
Yes, indeed.
phenomenal, phenomenal job. What they did, how they impacted several plays, did some great things. That all you can say is just wow. Okay, Jordan Castells, 10 total tackles.
Yep.
Miles Graham, 7 total tackles and half tackle for loss. Devin Moore, 6 tackles. Kofi Asari,
Yeah.
great game out of Kofi.
Great game. Great game.
6 total tackles, half a tackle for loss. Bryce Thornton, 5 tackles, a tackle for loss. Jaden Woods continues to be a problem. Okay. And he probably could have gotten 2 sacks in this game.
At least.
At the end of the day, Jaden Woods is getting penetration. He's getting into the backfield. He is a problem, and so happy to have him, such a young player. And sometimes you wonder if it's coach speak or not, or whatever the case might be. But I remember Napier saying a few weeks ago, Jaden Woods is the real deal. It's something that you cannot coach. He's got something internal. Yeah, he's got something internal. It's called a motor. And that motor is going, folks, going. The last thing I'm going to say about the defense is Florida's defense, contrary to what we believe and contrary to what the score says and the record says, they have forced turnovers in 15 of the last 16 games, including an active turnover streak of 13 games.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you right now, yes, there are things that can be, again, with anything, with any side of the football, there are screws that could be tightened down. There are adjustments to be made. I'm sure Ron Roberts is going to tighten some screws down here in the next 2 weeks. I'm sure of it. Absolutely sure of it. Outside of that, this defense, I cannot say enough about how much they have kept the offense in games, just to say, hey, we held them. We did our best. We tried to do our best, whatever the case might be. Now it's your turn. Let's play complimentary football. Let's go out there and score some points. I don't know what else. I don't know what more you can ask for the defense. It's just tough to say. Really tough. Be what you
It
got.
is. It is. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Great points. Really well said at the end there. I don't know what else you could ask either. This is some of the better defense, that we've seen in a long time, as we already made mention, and it continues. And if anything, it might be getting better. I'll explain what I mean in a minute. Again, you mentioned the rush yardage here wasn't great, but I think we absolutely know why, and I'll get to that in a minute. So once again, huge bright spot, as we already said, despite the final score. Again, the final score doesn't reflect this game. It's one of those where you get a couple late touchdowns because of field position, and as you mentioned, they were gassed, right? So
Right.
you held one of the better offensive teams in the country, as you already mentioned, to well below not only their yards per game average, but their points per game average, even with what the final score was. So as mentioned, I found 486, you found five something. I don't know exactly where it was. Both those came from ncastat.com, so who knows? But
Who knows?
regardless, we held them to significantly below that in yards. And as we already mentioned, 26 points. They were averaging 40.3 coming in to that game. So significantly more points as well, right? Very solid effort in both the running and the passing game defensively, though I was surprised we weren't a bit more effective against the run because we have been. However, going back and watching the film, this is where we missed Banks and Burrow, the combination of having neither of them the most, right? So
Right.
it was one thing where you had Burrow out, but you got Banks back. It was another thing when you didn't have Banks, but you have Burrow. When you're missing both those guys, we talked about this. This is where it got a little shaky, despite very good efforts from the backups. You mentioned McLeod and Bachu, very, very good. Bet was solid. There was good play there. But you're dealing with guys, especially in the two freshmen, Mbachu and McLeod, in there in the middle, that are just not quite there from a development standpoint yet. They're just not quite big enough to really clog this up, right? And they did really well in passing situations because that's not as important there. But in running situations, they don't clog those lanes as well. And sometimes, and this is where I really saw evidence of this, they don't hold blocks as long or as well as they could, should, whatever the case might be, because they just don't necessarily have the size. And what
Right.
you're seeing is O linemen shed their block, like shed their, it's not really a block, they are blocking, but they're basically brushing them off and getting to the second level and getting blocks on your linebackers. And that's what was opening up a lot of these running lanes for some of these bigger gains by their running backs. So when you see that multiple times, there were two or more O linemen from Miami getting out to the linebackers, getting to them, being able to block them. And that just makes your run game a lot easier if if your back's got the ball, right? Because when you're getting to that second level blocking by your own linemen and those linebackers aren't there they're not getting clogged up in traffic. They're getting physically blocked by own linemen. Yeah, that's gonna make your run game better, right? And that's what we were seeing in certain cases. It wasn't universally every play or anything, but it definitely happened. So I think that's where you really missed the interior presence of Banks, of Burrow. Obviously, we know we're not getting Banks back for a while. Hopefully, Burrow is back after the bye, because we do need some more size and some more experience and weight and all that in the middle of that line. Better passing defensive schemes in this game. I called out last week. I didn't like some of the stuff we were seeing with the some of the simulated pressures and who we were dropping into coverage. Don't have the all 22, so I can't see exactly what coverages we were running in a lot of situations. But I know that the coverage downfield was pretty good because in most cases it was there in a lot of cases, right? We had a few open guys, but it was nothing bad. And again, less sim pressures with linemen dropping into coverage, right? We still ran some sim pressures, but it was, less of crazy stuff where you have certainly no interior defensive linemen dropping into coverage. And then also, I didn't see the same cushion given to the slot receivers, which was very important because you had Tony in this game playing slot, who was very dangerous. He did not kill us. The tight end killed us a little, but we did not see the slot receivers tearing us up in this game, certainly not at all. So great to see those adjustments of things that hurt us last week, right? You go back, you watch film, you see where the problems were, and you adjust. What a concept. You don't just keep doing the same stuff. Oh, neat. You learn and you adapt. Oh, speaking of that, let's go to visor throw.
Hey,
You already mentioned it. 30, I have 31 here. I saw one that said 31, one that said 32, whatever. Sub 35 yards of total offense in the first half. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? You mentioned 20 some odd years since that's happened. That's unacceptable for a quarter, quite frankly, much less a half of football. Absolute joke. And this is once again, of course, from a head coach that is responsible for the offensive side of the ball. Can't stop stressing it, won't stop stressing it until he's not here anymore. 0 for 13 on third down. That's a fun one. Yeah, great. 0 for 13. First time since November of 2016 that we did not convert a third down in a game. We were 0 for 12 in that one versus FSU. But that game was actually somewhat competitive. Well, not really. It was 31-13. But regardless, yeah, that's the last time, 9 years ago. That's point number 2. 10 guys on the field for a field goal block yet again. How are we still doing this? Did we not bring the mat that counts the players to go on the field to Miami? Could that not make the trip down to Miami Gardens? No? Couldn't get it on the bus, Joe? Because Houston, we still have a problem. Are you kidding me? How is it possible that we're still putting 10 guys on the field for a field goal? Defense or offense? It's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. And last but not least, you made this point earlier, the O-line has 2 coaches. They also have 4 returning starters, 5 returning players that started this year, and it looks like a JV squad out there. What is happening? Even Barber, who is a very talented player, was rated to pick to be first team All-SEC, possible All-American, was not good in this game. You mentioned an 80% pressure rate. It didn't all come from the right side. Trust me, he was getting blown up too. Clearly, we are not coaching these players the right way. When you know talent, right, when that's a given in the formula, so give you a little modified math problem here. When talent is given and we see effort, which we absolutely do from this team, that's not been a question, but the play on the field is poor. Coaching is the only variable you have left in that equation to point to. Period. It's not a discussion. It's not an opinion. It's a fact. That is bad coaching on display for your eyes week in and week out with that O-line. There is no excuse whatsoever that our O-line looks like it does. None other than poor coaching. Period. That's my visor throw. It's pretty darn dirty. What do you got?
I'm going to take your visor out from the dirt. I see your points, and I'm going to raise you 4 more. I have all of those points, believe it or not, and I'm going to add a few more. Okay, here we go. Trailing 13-7. We get an injury timeout. Timeout.
Yeah, I know where you're going here. Yeah.
Okay, Miami more than likely to kick a field goal, right? Right after an injury timeout, Billy calls another timeout.
Yeah, he did.
Why, must you ask? Because he's got too much things to bobble, and guess what? That's why you can be a great CEO, but you got to stay out of the finance department. That's why you have a CFO. That's why you have a CDO. That's why you have a COO. Period. Leave that there. Okay. Next up. Okay, you got Tim Field. You got that. Okay. This was a visor throw. I know it's tough just because they were injured, but no Banks, no Gums, no Burrow, no McCray. Great call out on the defense and what actually happened there in the trenches, especially with McLeod and Mbachu. Well done. Like it. Aiden Mizell, folks, graded out the highest graded wide receiver according to PFF in the LSU game. Folks, Aiden Mizell stood on the sideline and did not even have a helmet on. Why? No idea. Zero. None. Was he injured? Was he hurt?
Yep.
You don't know.
That's great. I should have had that one. I forgot it, honestly. It's absolutely ridiculous that he didn't play.
Ridiculous. Okay? Folks, if you also remember, Aiden Mizell last year against Georgia caught the first TD pass in stride. He can catch the ball now. He's lanky. I know he's toothpick thick, but he's fast and he's got good hands. Just saying. Okay. Napier, start the press conference. Heck of a football game. What? Yeah. Are you talking to the old Paul Mario over there? Yeah, it was a heck of a game for them.
Yep.
For them. Leave that there. Napier later on, when asked about the defense, quote, look, I think we have a good defensive unit. I think we've got good personnel. Our staff does a great job, ... But in general, our defensive staff and players did a great job of executing the plan. The plan. They have a plan? It's nice to know our defense has a plan. It would be nice to know if our offensive coordinator had a plan. Oh, wait, I mean our head coach. I mean whoever he is. Okay, yeah. Another quote for Billy: "We're lacking consistency, we're lacking detail, and we're struggling to stack plays." Time out. You have lack of detail in year 4?
Yep.
Really? I thought we were process oriented. Oh, okay. That goes to
Yeah.
10
And
minutes.
and if you're struggling to stack plays as the person who's calling the plays, don't you think it would have been a good idea to give that to somebody else?
Hey, what a concept. And then my
Follow-up
last
question, aren't you not doing your job?
bingo. Bingo. And then my last point, again, this has brought a little bit of controversy, B, and I understand why. Napier chose not to kick the long field goal that would have brought Florida's deficit, right? Obviously would have taken it, 13-7, maybe to 13-10, whatever the case might be, right? With
Yeah,
just under
we talked
15
about
minutes
it on
remaining.
Saturday. Yeah.
Right. So again, from an analytical perspective, you go from it, right? But when your offense is struggling that much, and your first score comes late in the third quarter, we take points here. We need points. We're not averaging a lot of them. We need them. Okay. This is what I thought was interesting. Now I looked at it and go, oh, now we're implementing scared money don't make money. Interesting. The analytics say go for it, but with a struggling offense, you don't want to take the points. This is how we implement scared money don't make money. Interesting.
Yeah, and the analytics
And
don't
that's my
always tell
Bible.
the answer there. That's good. Sorry, I'm not
No,
trying
no,
to go
no,
over you
correct,
here, but
correct.
the analytics do say that. You're right, and I made a big point about this on Saturday night that I think rule of scores takes precedent there, and I really do, especially when you have a
Sure.
defense that has held that team into the fourth quarter to 13 points. Right, you expect them to be able to continue to hold well. Not saying they won't
Yes.
let them score again at all, but to continue to hold well, and you keep it more in range by scoring. Again, you can make it a field goal game to tie by kicking that field goal. So again, rule of scores, especially with a struggling offense, but a defense that's playing well, what's easier to get? A touchdown or a field goal, right? So when you look at it, to me, the more logical choice in that scenario based on game flow, not just because analytics are just going to look at that situation, the score that's on the board, right? The yards to go and where you are on the field. They're not going to take in, and it doesn't know how to evaluate the flow of the game,
No,
right?
it's
Or
in a
what's
vacuum.
going on,
Yeah.
right? So to me, you have to evaluate in there rule of scores and what's happening in the game. And to me, that was a no-brainer to kick it. Like the way that game was going, how much your offense was struggling, how well your defense was playing, it gives your defense more life because you're only down 3 now. You're really in the game, right? I mean, and again, to your point, you run a 2-yard hitch on a 3-yard 4th and 3. I I can't even. If you're gonna go for it, go for it. Don't go
Mm-hmm.
short of it. Just makes no sense. And he does this stuff all the time. It's just mind numbing.
It is.
Anyway,
So that was my last point, actually. The 2-yard hitch on a 4th and 3. So here's the thing: if you want to do that, first of all, get to 4, get to 5 yards out. Secondly, not TJ Abrams. Sorry,
yeah,
not
yeah.
TJ Abrams. Last point, visor throw. I'm done. It's pretty dirty.
Yeah, no, and it should be. And great call out of Mizell. I don't know how I overlooked that because I was absolutely livid that he didn't get a snap in this game. I mean,
Oh
that
yeah,
makes no sense. He was your best receiver last week from PFF. He's got the only
and didn't
touchdown.
and
Like
didn't show
what
up on the injury report.
what are we doing? What are we and he was in pads. He was fully dressed. He wasn't hurt.
Correct.
Like
Correct.
how does he not see the field? That is insanity. That is absolute insanity. Unless he caught some kind of pregame injury that we don't know about, that is the only explanation, and I don't think that happened. I think he is not in favor of this coaching staff for whatever reason because he hasn't gotten enough time, frankly, basically since he's been here. It's wild. Anyway, moving along. Recruiting. Hashlings, what updates you got?
I got zero updates other than the fact that it was amazing to see how many recruits that Miami had at the game, especially, I guess, on the wide receiver
Yeah.
front. Thought that was ridiculous, but whatever. That is what it is.
Yeah.
We're still sitting at 19 commits, no 5-stars, 74% blue chip, 53% in state, still sitting at number 13 nationally so far, TBD.
Yeah, so far is right. Yeah, no changes, as you mentioned, commits or decommits. I continue to maintain this is just a matter of time, whether it's a coaching change, please, 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 or the continued losses, which I hope not, whether they come or not, if it's not with a coaching change, then I'm not going to be happy about it. Um, we were expected to be better this year, right? We're not better, and we're not going to be, no matter what happens, right? Unless we somehow win out. Um, we will not be better, right? And kids are going to flip because of it, period. It will happen. The longer we keep this in play and keep looking like we're looking on Saturday, the more kids are going to leave this class. Mark my words, it will happen. Okay. Pride of Sunshine. So I'm going to start this one off here. This is a tough one for me this week because I would say half the team showed great culture and effort in this game. And that's the defensive side of the ball. Where was this for the offense? Now, I'm not going to say the offense like didn't show up or didn't play or didn't try. It's not like that, right? But the energy level, the intensity, the fire, we just did not see from the very start of the game. We talked about this. Miami came out looking to rip our heads off, and our response was, "Oh, geez, man, they're really playing us tough. Hope the defense plays well." That's like how the offense seemed to be to me, from like their attitudes both on the field and the sidelines. Now, we don't know these things. We're not in their heads. This is why I hate this kind of analysis by broadcasters, so I'm actually a little hesitant to even say it. But you just did not see the intensity on the offensive side of the ball to kind of try and do anything with any kind of fire, right? Why? Why did we see this? We heard about the dinner Lagway had with the team this week with as many as 40 guys at it. Where was the fire to go play with maximum effort and intensity against the top-ranked team in their house, go bring the fight to them? And I think what this is coming from is at some point you start reflecting the personality of your coach. And Napier's a nice guy, and maybe he's just too nice for football. Because when your players start to be just kind of too nice, you got to have more killer instinct in this in football. You just do. You got to want to go out there and put somebody's face in the dirt. It's just the way the game's played. And we're seeing that on defense. We are. It's great. Credit to those guys. Where's that attitude on offense? I don't see it. We look like we're walking around out there lost deer in the headlights. And it's not that they're quitting, and it's not that they're throwing in the towel. So it's not an overall culture problem that I'm talking to. It's more of just where's the fight? I just don't see it. It's like we're just trying to find ourselves out there in the game of life or something. Again, I'm trying to use Billy quotes here, paraphrased, right? Because that's what it feels like. And that's just frustrating to watch. That's what I got from culture. Where you at?
I like it. Well said. Couple things. Cormani McClain continues to show up. Again, he was labeled a problem child, a problem, a menace, a this, a that, an insubordinate. And I really have appreciated seeing him work and seeing his comeback story. It's great. Napier, 20-22 overall, 3-12 in rivalry games, 16-22 against FBS teams, 13-7 in the swamp. Miami players eating barbecue gator after the game. Now, I'm not saying we're going to eat grilled ibis, but good Lord, seriously? Seriously? Intensity is a part of culture, but culture doesn't drive the intensity. Here's the thing. When you look at this game of football, people have said, "Oh, football is a contact sport." I'm sorry, I disagree. Football is a collision sport. Collision. You have to want to go out there and rip someone's head off. Period. If you don't have that type of intensity, then you can play flag, you can play two-hand touch, you can not play at all. It's fine. The best have that drive. And guess what? That drive, you can't just pump somebody. It has to come from within. Is it in you? Oh, sorry. That doesn't age well neither.
No, it doesn't.
The only intensity I saw be on the sideline after the third quarter touchdown. That's it.
Yep. Then you saw it. You're correct. You're correct. But you shouldn't have to have success to have that.
Right? There. Miami holds a 30-27 advantage in the series. They've won 7 out of the last 9. We have not won in Miami since 1985. Are you kidding me?
Yep, 40 years. It's 31-27 now, by the way. It was 30-27 going in.
It's funny. I've seen 30-27. I've seen 31-27. I've seen 29-20. Yeah, either way. I love stats. Love stats. They're great. They're wonderful. People don't care.
No, they
Florida has
don't.
not. Yeah, Florida has not defeated a top 5 team on the road since 2009. Right? 2009. The only thing I can say is we still hold the all-time scoring streak at 465 games.
Thank
Please
God. I was so
continue.
scared. I was so
Please
scared. I was
continue.
so scared we were going to lose it.
The last thing I'll say with regards to the look at DJ Lagway, the feel of DJ Lagway, the temperament of DJ Lagway, the body language of DJ Lagway, I'll just say this. When DJ took the podium post-game press conference, reporter, what were the issues in the first half? DJ, just the weather and stuff like that. It was playing a big part of it, just trying to get our footing and stuff like that. The weather and stuff like that?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, son. At the end of the day, with great, I'm going to quote Uncle Ben here, Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Yep.
Whether the NIL is worth 3.7 or 3.4 or whatever it's worth, and the moniker that comes with that, and everything else that did not age well from SEC media days, more is expected of you. Okay.
Yeah, where's pressure is a privilege now.
Pressure is a privilege. Thank you. You took the words right out of my mouth. Where is that now? That's all I got.
Yeah, it's all really well said. It's great points. And I know he made a promise, that things will improve, and he vowed to get better and all this, but he's kind of been saying that for 3 weeks now. So it's bringing a little hollow for me. This is not Tebow. This is not Tebow promising us stuff. Sorry. Not that I'm making that comparison at all, to be clear, but and now we're in a walking boot again. So, which, by the way, I just read something says it's a toe injury, by the way. So, update on that. For those that don't know, Lagway's in a walking boot today, been spotted around campus, and apparently it is a minor toe injury, is what is being revealed in the article on A to Z Sports that I just read. Let me verify the source. No, Athlon is saying minor toe injury and expected to be back for week 4. Or not week 4, sorry. Week 6.
Andy and Pete Nakos confirmed it. Right.
Okay. So all I'd seen was the boot and not knowing what it was, which was making me wonder, is this going back to something with the calf that never really healed? But we'll leave that alone. So on to the next here. Move back, you suck. I always want to start this one to get your thoughts second, so I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
I would call this game below average officiated, mostly because of lack of consistency and a lot of missed calls that I saw. I don't think we had too many that were called incorrectly, but several misses. I saw several holding calls that were missed on Miami, particularly on Jaden Woods. There was actually 2 of these. I went back and watched. There was actually 2 very similar ones, as I mentioned earlier, that he should have had at least 2 more pressures and possibly 2 more sacks, because he was held with an arm around his neck twice. So he beat his defender, kept his arm up, didn't grab his jersey, but had an arm, literally arm barring him, like clotheslining him almost, holding him. One of them was super egregious. It was on a 3rd down that they converted, that they should not have. That one was super egregious. And there was another one later in the game that was not quite as egregious, but very similar. Both absolutely should have been called. They were clearly holds. He beat his man, and he was restrained by that arm bar. I don't know what we were doing on those, especially that first one that, again, allowed for a 3rd down conversion to happen. Never should have happened. Should have come back. Absolutely blatant, terrible missed call. One of the worst I've seen, just because of the flagrant of the foul. And again, being right out in front, he was the only defender penetrating. It wasn't crowded. He's coming right at the quarterback, and you've got a guy arm barring him, holding him back from getting there with his helmet being pushed back. Like, I mean, I don't know what more you want to throw a flag, but clearly we need to actually rip his head off of his body to call the hold. That's apparently what's needed. So to that end, speaking of ripping heads off bodies, targeting. very questionable lack of targeting call, or at least review, is really the case I'm going to make here against Trey. So Trey was going downfield off I don't know if it was a screen or quick out, and he gets hit going to the sideline or towards the sideline. And on the replay, it was very clear to see that he was contacted in his helmet by the crown of a helmet, the literal exact same thing that got Wes Weeks ejected, or Whit Weeks, excuse me, not Wes Weeks, Whit Weeks ejected and LSU right at that first drive of the game last week. Literally exact same kind of hit, right? Crown of helmet to helmet. Definition targeting, right? Doesn't have to launch in that situation. Doesn't have to be a flagrant hit to the head or neck area. It's just crown of the helmet into the helmet of another player. Boom, targeting, you're out. Now, whether or not they actually would have called it, that's up to them. Obviously, these things get subjective. I'm not saying definitively it was. I think it was based on the letter of the law. However, it doesn't even get reviewed. How is that possible? We talk about this all the time. You have all these eyes on the field, in the review booth, in Birmingham, looking at this stuff, though I don't know if Birmingham's responsible. It was an SEC crew, so I assume it was Birmingham for that. But whoever's reviewing it, eye in the sky and remotely, how do you not stop and look at that? It was blatant on the replay that he hit him with the crown of the helmet in his helmet. I can't understand these things. I cannot understand them. How are we not doing better? How are we not? Human error, of course, is part of it. We understand that. But for something like this, how do you not at least go look at it? It's just mind blowing. What do you got for officiating review, bud?
Yeah, it's tough, man. When you have a league like the SEC and the talent in the SEC and the caliber of games in the SEC, the officiating does not match that in any way, shape, or form. And probably in the past decade, it's gotten worse. It really has.
I would say so.
Especially when you look at the Texas Tech Oklahoma game, that was separate. Auburn Oklahoma game. That was tough with the deception play and going to the sideline. It's like, okay, he acted if he was going to the sideline. He's a couple of yards off the sideline and breaks, and it's like, okay, that should have been unsportsmanlike, but whatever. Two bad holds on Woods. Definitely. When I look at the first one, the arm bar was so bad across his neck that Jaden Woods' helmet, his head was pointing upwards.
Yeah.
It doesn't get more blatant than that.
Again, apparently you got to rip his head off. Like, that's apparently what you need for a call.
Apparently. The second one, not as bad, but definitely a hold. You saw the jersey, the flex on the jersey said it all. That's it. Period. Yep. Start of the second quarter, Gators on the move. Trey gets the handoff of the end around. That tackle, I mean, and you have a side judge or a line judge right there. It was 7 yards away from him? I thought that would be the most obvious thing to call because of how obvious the helmet-to-helmet contact was. And, yeah, he did leave with the crown. Head down, helmet on, done. At least the booth should have said, hey, we might want to review that. And then they signal down, they buzz down to the white hat, the referee, hey, might want to review that. But nothing. Okay, very interesting.
Yeah, interesting's a word.
Yeah, I was surprised actually the end of the second quarter that Denson didn't get an unsportsmanlike penalty. So he was, pushing, shoving back and forth with a Miami player, and then after that, you see Denson. You get a little glimpse of him in a camera. I saw another angle of it. He smacked the Miami player in the helmet. Official came over, probably could have given an unsportsmanlike, but did not. Was very surprised at that. Surprised at that.
Yep.
Second thing was that I was surprised about is the missed hold call on Barber. Barber had a bad hold call on the second sack, I want to say, on Lagway.
I know what you're referring to. Yeah, good call.
And that wasn't called, so I was actually kind of surprised by that, but that's fine. End of third quarter, line judge misses an offensive face mask to Asari by one of the running backs. I want to say it was Fletcher, and it wasn't an arm, a stiff arm, because the stiff arm's got to be out straight. The running back from Miami grabbed the face mask of Asari, fingers bent into the face mask. That should have been an offensive face mask.
Yeah, I feel like they seldom call that one. They should more, you're right, but I feel like you don't
It's,
get that flag much.
especially when the fingers curl around and you see that face mask shift in a way instead of the
Yep.
arm, instead of the hand staying out, right, perpendicular to the ground. Anyways, so that was tough to see because again, I thought it was right in front of that line judge. Early in the third quarter, again, another interesting play. Miami pushing the pile. Fletcher again is running back because again we gave up over 100 yards to him. He broke away, could have scored, but the whistle was blown to stop progress.
Yeah, I'm
I
hearing a
think,
lot of talk about this, the refs taking pity on us and stuff like that. Like, please. But
I,
anyway,
yeah, I don't know about pity, but I would say if they waited another second and a half, right, they probably wouldn't have blown that whistle. I thought that was an inadvertent or just a soon whistle, especially when you look at the positioning of where he was.
yeah,
So there's
agreed. It
that.
was quick.
It was, yeah, fairly quick. And then the last one, and again, here's the other thing too. You want to blow the whistle to avoid injury, right? Especially when you see that the progress has been stopped, so on and so forth. Forward motion, was it modified? Yes. But was it stopped? Not really.
Yeah,
Not
agreed.
really.
Yeah, it was questionable. It's a good call out too. And again, we try to be objective here and call out both sides. I should have done a better job of questioning more than just those things, but I was just
Yeah,
frustrated. So that's on
all
me.
good.
I'll
I
I'll,
get
I'll
it.
own that.
I get it. All good. And then the last one I've got in the fourth quarter, really good to see the kick, that's all, folks. The kick catch interference called off after confirming that R
Yes,
pushed K into the returner. So the returner,
agreed.
right, pushed into the kicker. I'm sorry, the returner. Glad to see them call that off. They very seldom do that. So thank you for that. And the last thing I want to address, be going back to last week and talking about how, when do you call a hold? When is it egregious? When it affects the play? The word that we look for as an officiating crew is advantage. Advantage is the key word. Does the play in question create an advantage to the offense or an advantage to the defense? So, for example, in that holding call last week that nullified Jaden Ball's 85, 87-yard touchdown, I think the main thing of it was there an advantage created because the defensive lineman was thrown to the ground? The answer is no, because Lagway had a 7 to 8 yard lead on him, right? So he
Right.
wasn't going to catch Lagway regardless. The ball was already released. So again, the key word there is advantage. When a flag is thrown, what is the
Yep.
advantage either gained by the offense or so? So that's the key word that we look for. Just want to clarify that because I had two questions on that this past week.
Yeah, it's a great call out and really good point there too, right? I mean, because you made mention about the distance, right? But that's a great clarification there. Thank you for that. Always appreciate the expertise there. All right. Let's wrap this thing up. Where do we go from here? What do we do? How does the team, how do we as fans move on and continue to live our lives?
Well, just like anything else, after a traumatic event, we need closure. Um,
Yeah, I'd
and,
like some,
and
but we're not going to get it. At least not
we're not
yet.
going to get it. Not anytime soon, right? Especially if he's in a walking boot and that's going to take 2 weeks to heal, or, for lack of a better term, 8 more games to heal, whatever that means. Um,
Yeah.
Here's what's tough about this, man. Uh, I mentioned it earlier. Napier is 20 and 22.
Yep.
20 and 22. What does that compare to? The worst win percentage by a Florida head coach since Raymond Wolf back in the late 40s.
Yep.
More home losses in his first 28 games than Meyer had in 80 total games. He's had 6 home losses. Meyer had 5. Spurrier in 150 games had 5 home losses. That's it. That's it. A couple things I want to address because I made comments about Napier a couple pods ago that I feel like I need to kind of own. And here's the thing. I'm a person, I feel like I give people the benefit of the doubt. B, you as well. I know we've talked about
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
There's always a bright side. There's always hope. There's always grace. There's mercy. I gave a lot of that to Billy, probably more than I should have, right? It took me a while really to come to terms with what this reality is, okay? How did Billy Napier get here? Okay? I feel like he's done a lot of things right. Meaning, hey, hold on, hear me out. Meaning, Gator made the opportunities for these student athletes, academics, NIL, culture, internal culture, right? Making men not just football players. Recruiting, again, not elite, not top 5, but definitely with the potential to get there. Okay. And that's the thing. I feel like Napier was an apple that came from a good tree. Okay.
Agreed.
So
Agreed.
the comments I made were I'm finally done, right? But why? And here's what I go back to. For those of you who don't know, Napier was a wide receiver and a quarterback in high school. Played for his dad, Chatsworth, Georgia. All state. Okay. Earned a scholarship to Furman, all that good stuff. Led his 2001 team to the NCAA Division I football championship. Lost to Montana. Okay, it is what it is. Hired as a graduate assistant at Clemson for 2 years. Then hired as a QB coach at South Carolina State in 04. After the South Carolina State job, he chose to return to Clemson, right? Accepted a job, dual roles, tight ends, recruiting coordinator on Tommy Bowden's staff. We all remember that name. Okay. Tommy Bowden resigned in his third year over struggles. Okay. Napier gave up his role as coordinator, tight ends coach. Okay. Then, guess what? He was named QB coach by newly appointed interim Dabo Swinney. Okay. Also, in his roles that year include assisting Swinney with play calling duties. Okay. In 08, Swinney got the job full time. He got promoted. B, I'm not sure if you ever would have known this, but in 2009, as OC and QB coach, right, Clemson won the ACC Atlantic Division behind Napier's strength of offense that scored then a school record 436 points.
I mean, it's the ACC, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. Steep production led to his exit. Saban offered him a job. He didn't go looking. Saban offered it to him. Then after that, went to go with Jim McElwain in Colorado State. That is what it is. Then Jimbo Fisher said, hey, I need you over here. He's never really had to interview, okay? Then after that, Arizona State, went there, offensive coordinator. Then after that, guess what? University of Louisiana, Lafayette. All the things that he's done there, okay? 7-7, first year Louisiana. 11-3 after that, winning a bowl game. 10-1 after that, first responder bowl game. 12-1 the year after that, and then that December he comes to Florida. Okay, he was a good apple, came from good tree, especially the time he spent at Clemson and Alabama. But here's the thing: on Saturdays, on that white painted rectangle grass field, okay, 6,396 square yards, we see something vastly different. His offense and special teams yet to pass the eye test. It's your 4. It's your guys. It's your staff. It's your system. It's your footprint. It's on you for everything. There's a great book by Marshall Goldsmith. What got you here won't get you there. And what I mean by that is, meaning back to the top of the SEC, we cannot do it with this offense. No. And this is where I would compare Napier to a top draft pick, a first-round draft pick. A lot of potential. Look where he came from. Look at the coaching tree. Look at the experience. He checks a lot of boxes, but we just don't know what's going to happen until the rubber hits the turf. But guess what, folks? We've had 4 years of rubber hitting the turf, and it hasn't been pretty in Gator Nation. That's what's so tough about where we go from here, B. It's just tough because the experiment, to quote J.D. Pickell over there on 3, experiment's over.
Yeah, he's out too. He's out too. And he is talked about himself as being a guy who gives everybody every chance also. So it's interesting. I think pretty much everybody's at that point now. And I don't know how you can't be. I hear a lot of people in a lot of different places blaming Strickland for this being a terrible decision. And I think the point that you just made that I think is really pertinent and important is this wasn't a terrible decision, right? The pedigree, everything coming in, the look of it, what he'd accomplished, where he'd come from, all that, the accolades and the background and the experience and the coaching pedigree, the tree came from, all this stuff, right? Everything. There were a lot of good reasons why this made sense. It just didn't work for a various number of other reasons. So now I'm not going to criticize the decision that was made. I'm not. I don't think it was a bad decision. But what I will criticize is not making the right decision now, because that would be a bad decision, right? We don't need to see how it plays out. We don't need to see how we know how it's going to go. We have more than enough evidence in 3+ years now to know exactly how this is going to play out. Yeah, maybe we'll win a couple games. I already said that we don't expect it, though the way we're playing right now, we will not. That would have to change dramatically, right? And whether we do or don't, it's not going to get better to the point where, to you, what you just said, that it's good enough to win the SEC, to compete in the playoff, and to win national titles, which is ultimately what we want. Now, is it what we're entitled to? Is it what we expect? No, like that's we talked about that. But we should be at least able to compete with the level of funding and talent we have at Florida. Competing should be possible. We're not competing. And that's just where it stands. So we talked about it a minute ago, the news coming out today about Lagway potentially being hurt again. So that leaves more questions, right? Moving forward from the bye week. So I'm going to talk a little shorter term here than longer term. And so here we are, simply stuck wondering yet again. And it's a place I'm very unhappy being in as a lifelong fan of this program. The sooner we end this seemingly never-ending cycle of being at best underperforming and at worst being a complete joke, considering our talent versus our production, which is where we currently sit, at least on one side of the ball, the sooner we can move this program to a better place moving forward. I will continue to say this. Napier needs to go. Whatever the short-term cost is, and I mean it, whatever it is, I don't care. I don't care if the entire roster leaves with him. I don't care if we can't field a football team the rest of the year. I don't care. Whatever the short-term cost is, the long-term cost of keeping him as our coach is much higher. It doesn't matter what the short-term cost is, no matter how high a price. And that includes buyout money, for the record. Okay. With that, let's move on to keep it or pitch it results. I went 0-3 again. I'm like Billy Napier over here. I just can't win.
Unbelievable.
You went 2-1. Very impressive. Well done, sir. So to recap, we were talking about Miami currently converting at 50% on third down. They held that average literally to the number. And we said that we were only allowing 26.2. Thought the Gators could hold them under 38%. They did not, because as mentioned, they converted at their average of 50%. So we did not do well there. Though, in fairness, there were a couple that they should not have gotten because of penalties, but we'll move on. That's not how the game works. Miami is currently allowing 2.56 yards per carry against the run. We were currently averaging 4.29 carrying the ball. We said they would continue to tote the rock effectively and carry at least 3.5 yards per rush once sack yardage was excluded. We absolutely did that, just over 4 yards per carry. I pitched that. You kept it. Kudos to you. In the past 2 games, UF has 6 and 7 accepted offensive penalties flagged against them. They will play cleaner on Saturday and receive 4 or less. They absolutely did. Had 2. I pitched that. You kept it. So there's your 2-1 and my 0-3. Well done. Yeah, very good. So as mentioned, no new keeper to pitch it tonight. We will have that during next bye week episode, which again, we'll talk to here again in just a moment. Quick note on the Sims. Again, no Sims results either. Have those next week as well. Definitely more accurate outcome in these since I changed those settings. So I am excited for what we will see moving forward. Again, could be some of the game just learning, right, where we are versus the talent. You know, that's part of it as well. The AI does learn as the season goes along. But some of the settings I changed, I really do think impacted this also, because it's just not the results we were seeing or even close, right? So really looking forward to seeing how this gets, things more predictive. And again, not necessarily for outcome, but just in regards to things. Because again, it said if we keep Beck under his number, which we did, that we would win. Well, we didn't win, but also the game's not going to predict that our offense looks like what it did, right? The game doesn't have a way to factor that in.
No, it doesn't.
But with a decent offensive output, what happens? We quite possibly win that game, right? And very, very much in that game, very much have a chance in that game, very probably do win that game, honestly. If your offense is even, again, as we said last week, competent, right? They were anything but competent in this game. Those numbers were horrific, right? So, and that's not to take away from Miami's defense. I'm not trying to say that, but again, just competent is all I'm not saying they had to be good. That would have been hard against a defense that was playing that well. Just competent. So, once again, interested to see how that goes moving forward. I just wanted to make a quick note of that overall the outcome and the way it kind of predicted things was a lot more in line. So, okay, talk about the bye week pods here. So first and foremost, as I mentioned, we are going to do a reaction pod. It's not really a reaction. It's going to be a reaction. Well, it is a reaction to the first 4 weeks of the season. Yeah. Going to talk about kind of some good points and some bad points, as you might imagine. Kind of talk about where we feel the biggest impact has come from a player standpoint in those first few weeks, and we will bring that to you. That will come out next Saturday. Again, that's just a little quick hitter, first bites style. Like we've been doing, have had great response to that. Thank you to everybody who's been tuning in. Really appreciate it. Really glad to see that people are enjoying that. So we're going to continue to do it. Wanted to bring you one for the bye week, even though we don't have a Gator game. So we're going to do that next Saturday. And then, of course, next Monday, we will have a pod as well. That will be, again, a full pod, if you will. We are going to look at some realistic, not pie in the sky, but some realistic coaching possibilities for who could potentially come in and replace if and when we get there, hopefully sooner than later. But we want to kind of take a look at who we are realistically looking at, who's really possible to come here, not Dan Lanning or Urban Meyer. Those things are not like, though I keep hearing Urban's name brought up, but I'm not putting him on the list because I don't think that's realistic. So ultimately we are going to kind of take a look at the most realistic candidates, we'll put it that way, and what their track record looks like, what it would mean, what kind of style coaches they are, stuff like that, just kind of high level things. And we'll break all that down. And then we will play Keep It or Pitch It again for Texas and run through Sims results as well. So that is the breakdown for what we're looking at for next week. So we hope to see you all there. And with that, I will turn it over to you to close us out and sign us off.
Definitely, my man. Great pod. Thanks for the therapy. As always, we appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely.
And for sure, wherever you are and whenever you may be listening, thank you for taking the time, and we will see you around Gator Nation.